The human heart is not a safe deposit box. It is a fortress, and sometimes, the only way to protect what is truly valuable is to let the enemy believe they have already won. Imagine standing on a precipice, not of a mountain, but of your own life, holding a folder containing the supposed bill for your existence, a piece of paper that proclaims you have been emptied for another's gain. This is the emotionally powerful hook we use to draw the learner into the script, immediately centering the narrative on the universal themes of betrayal, self-worth, and the quiet power of strategic silence. This moment, the father's soft, satisfied laugh, the mother's dismissive tap, the unnoticed, self-consuming candle, is a masterclass in nonverbal communication, a key element of advanced English comprehension. How do we say "I am destroyed" without uttering a sound? The answer lies in the dramatic tension between the father's Schadenfreude, a German loanword now adopted in English, meaning pleasure derived from another person's misfortune, and the protagonist's profound, chilling silence. This silence, the initial reaction to the theft of what was believed to be $2,900,000, becomes the first lesson in the script's philosophical teaching. The loudest argument is often the one that goes unsaid. It is a powerful character moment, showcasing an immediate shift from passive endurance to active, internal assessment. The character's internal question, how long until they realized what they took wasn't mine to lose, is a crucial pivot point, utilizing the idiom "not mine to lose," meaning something I was not truly invested in or something I was already prepared to let go of, subtly foreshadowing the engineered deception. The narrative arc then transitions into a deeper exploration of the protagonist's historical context within their family, connecting to true historical elements of familial and societal expectations, particularly in cultures where achievement is often measured against a favored sibling or a predefined path. The sister, Grace, is the Cinderella in reverse. She is the one celebrated, the center of the narrative, while the protagonist moves like a shadow, an advanced vocabulary term used metaphorically to describe a lack of substance or visibility. The history of small betrayals, the borrowed savings, the overlooked certification, the promotion acknowledged with a list of bills, forms a deeply engaging journey of self-discovery through sustained, unacknowledged effort. The development of her Decoy account is not merely a financial maneuver, it is a profound philosophical teaching about building an inner sanctum, a space of untouchable value. She funneled it all into a savings account the way some people write diaries, an evocative simile that explains her emotional investment. The numbers were her timeline, a form of personal, unread autobiography. Her small, cheap studio, with its rattling heater and whistling wind, represents a modern, universal struggle, sacrificing comfort today for autonomy tomorrow. The phrase "the music of their expectations" is an advanced metaphor, using the auditory sense to describe the oppressive structure of her family's demands. Her emotional development is rooted in the transition from hoping for a small acknowledgement to the stark realization that she was simply a resource they'd forgotten could run out, a concept with profound modern relevance in the corporate and personal world, where individuals are often viewed as fungible assets. This painful recognition is the crucible for her next, calculated action. The script's detailed, almost liturgical recounting of the family's past dismissals and the protagonist's subsequent quiet accumulation of resources reinforces the lesson that true strength often lies not in confrontation, but in meticulous preparation. This entire chapter focuses on the psychological cost of silence and the quiet triumph of becoming inconspicuous, a valuable lesson in English, the power of being understated or using understatement as a rhetorical device. The protagonist's ability to create a parallel structure, an elaborate financial feint, highlights an advanced form of duplicity, deceitfulness, double-dealing, used here not for malice, but for self-preservation. The second chapter plunges directly into the moment of confrontation, where the misleading part "was how proud I felt" turns into cold, strategic certainty. The scene is rendered with visceral detail, the folder's worn edges, the father's victorious laugh, and the mother's devastating, certain cruelty. "You would have wasted it anyway." This sentence is a rhetorical trap, a final, total dismissal of the protagonist's entire raison d'être, French phrase, now an English idiom, meaning the most important reason or purpose for someone's or something's existence. The script uses the technique of a delayed reveal. The number $$2 $900,000 is clean and absolute, requiring the brain to refuse to attach meaning to maximize the emotional impact. The philosophical teaching here is about the power of reframing a crisis. The protagonist experiences a pause, a movement inside me stopped, which is the moment of ultimate clarity. She sees the truth without its excuses. This is a critical lesson in English learning, distinguishing between a reason and an excuse. The core of the chapter is her internal reaction, the moment she laughs. This quiet exhale, shaped into a sound they mistook for surrender, is the ultimate vivid character moment. It is the sound of total liberation, the psychological denouement, French term meaning the final part of a play or narrative in which the strands of the plot are drawn together and matters are explained or resolved, before the financial climax. This laugh is a crucial piece of universal wisdom. The moment you stop seeking validation from those who cannot see you is the moment you gain all the power. The subsequent revelation of the Decoy Account connects to true historical elements of strategic warfare and deception. From the Trojan horse to modern corporate espionage, the concept of a ruse or feint, an advanced English word meaning a deceptive or pretended blow, thrust, or other movement, ESP in boxing or fencing, is an ancient, effective tactic. The protagonist's creation of a parallel structure is a modern financial application of this ancient wisdom. The script meticulously details the engineering of the trap. The Decoy Account mirrored my real savings and pattern, using consistent intervals and a cadence identical to her life. These precise, technical terms are crucial for the modern relevance of the script, linking data security, auditing, and financial literacy to personal autonomy. Her years of being practical, quiet, predictable were not weaknesses, but the very materials for her trap. She leveraged their assumptions, their confidence to make them careless against them. This is an advanced philosophical concept, turning an opponent's perception of you into your greatest weapon. The chapter uses the idiom walked into a trap literally, but the protagonist's actions elevate it to a metaphorical level of self-actualization. The final action is the terse, single text to her lawyer. They access the flagged account. A moment later, proceed. This is a model of effective, compelling English, economy of language used to convey maximum impact. The decision to let the silence sit between us, heavy, deliberate, unmistakable, teaches the power of non-reaction. The script is teaching that in high-stakes communication, the most powerful tool is often the strategic withholding of information. The finality of the confrontation is solidified by the deliberate use of technical language, withdrawal confirmation, audit trail, replication of deposit patterns, underscoring the protagonist's mastery over the very systems that her family failed to respect. This entire section serves as a meditation on the rhetoric of restraint, teaching that sometimes the strongest position in any negotiation or life conflict is to simply allow consequences to execute themselves. The protagonist, by creating the decoy, has not merely saved her money, she has saved her soul from the tyranny of obligation. How many times have you mistaken someone's quiet preparation for their surrender, and what hidden decoy accounts are you building for your own future autonomy? The third chapter, an inspiring, deeply engaging journey in its own right, details the methodical execution of the protagonist's counter-strategy and the initial shockwave felt by her family. The apartment, now silent again, is a stark contrast to the previous day's chaos, underscoring the shift in power. Her simple ritual of making coffee and watching the steam rise is a vivid character moment of controlled composure. The detailed process of accessing her logs, the timestamps, notations, and a color-coded column for expected behavior is an educational dive into the meticulousness required for data security and legal documentation, a skill with profound modern relevance. The phrase, "the flags were already active the moment they'd accessed that money," the algorithm would start its quiet work, uses a technical vocabulary to describe a self-executing consequence, a modern-day nemesis, a historical term for the Greek goddess of retribution. This is a vital lesson in English learning, understanding how specialized vocabulary from one domain, technology/finance, can be repurposed to describe human drama. The real, untouched savings living somewhere else entirely is the literal embodiment of the philosophical teaching. True security is rooted in diversification and absolute privacy. The subsequent actions are an exercise in decisive, quiet power. The simple text to her lawyer, a moment later, proceed. The opening of the folder labeled quietly in her records, a beautiful oxymoron that signifies her hidden strength. The most impactful action, however, is the quiet, methodical removal of her parents from their auto payments. Each cancellation made a soft clicking sound. It was the quietest boundary I had ever drawn. This is a powerful metaphor for setting personal boundaries, a crucial piece of universal wisdom. It demonstrates that sometimes the most profound emotional break is achieved through administrative, undramatic steps. The narrative then shifts to her professional life. Her focus is sharp, almost unnaturally so. She revisits her personal notes, her ideas for my own project, which her parents had dismissed as unrealistic. This moment emphasizes a key philosophical teaching. The first step to pursuing your true path is reclaiming the creative space that others have tried to dismiss. The vivid character moment of her pouring a glass of wine, sitting by the folder they had brought, and allowing the real balance to settle into my chest like an anchor is a moment of profound psychological peace. The lack of rage or trembling underscores her mastery of self. The chapter culminates in a synthesis of her past trauma and her present mastery. She closed the folder gently, my fingertips, leaving no sound on the cover, a final, symbolic act of detachment. The candle from her birthday, which her parents had missed, is a poignant symbol of her own neglected self-celebration. She has now decided to not fix what they'd broken. This is the ultimate lesson in personal growth. Sometimes the greatest act of self-care is refusing to manage the wreckage created by others. The modern relevance of this chapter is unmistakable. It teaches the power of digital documentation, the importance of a clear audit trail, and the use of financial tools to enforce personal autonomy. The use of the idiom "run out of steam" is implicitly inverted here. Her quiet consistency has ensured her resources wouldn't run out, even when physically stolen. The deliberate use of financial and legal terminology, audit triggers, compliance officers, index of inconsistencies, serves as an educational opportunity for the learner to expand their vocabulary into the high-stakes language of business and law, linking personal narrative to professional competency. The protagonist's actions teach that true liberation is not a sudden, loud declaration, but a series of quiet, deliberate, and well-documented choices. If your piece is the anchor, what small, seemingly administrative action could you take today to secure your financial or emotional boundaries? The fourth chapter escalates the crisis to its inevitable conclusion, documenting the family's frantic attempts to regain control and the protagonist's unwavering, almost clinical composure. The emotionally powerful hook of this chapter is the father's explosive, frantic phone call, followed by the mother's high and frantic voice, a striking contrast to their earlier arrogance. The protagonist's calm, measured response, seems like a fraud check, is a model of compelling English, deliberately bland and factual, devoid of accusation, which heightens the emotional distress of the caller. The mother's desperate, accusatory plea, "You're ruining our reputation." Grace is in tears. "Your father can't breathe," is met with the protagonist's cold, rhetorical question, "You mean the future my money supposedly secured?" This moment, followed by her hanging up, is a spectacular, vivid character moment of self-possession and boundary enforcement. The silence that follows is a door finally closing, a powerful metaphor for the permanent severing of a dysfunctional relationship. The narrative connects to true historical elements of justice and retribution, echoing ancient moral tales where hubris leads to an unavoidable downfall. The parents' assumption that they could launder money, an advanced vocabulary term with legal and financial implications, without consequence reveals their fundamental ignorance of the system the protagonist helped design. The phrase "everything moved in clean lines after that," like dominoes falling in the order they'd been placed years before, is a beautiful simile that encapsulates the efficiency of her long-term plan, offering a key philosophical teaching. Predetermination can be a tool of personal justice. The new segment, Local Couple Under Investigation, is the ultimate public shaming, an inversion of the family's previous celebration of grace. Their expressions, a mirror image of the arrogance they'd worn in my apartment, is a powerful visual description of poetic justice. The escalation culminates with the mother's dramatic, unannounced arrival, pacing like a trapped animal. The contrast between the mother's panic, hair unbrushed, perfume mixed with panic, and the protagonist's quiet certainty is a crucial emotional development. The mother's attempt to use the idiom for the family is instantly corrected. For grace, I corrected. This single-word correction is a powerful demonstration of English learning, using precise language to dismantle a false narrative. The mother's ultimate plea, "Please help us," is met with a resolute silence. There was nothing left to negotiate. This is the final, irreversible boundary, a crucial universal wisdom. You cannot rescue those who refuse to see their own role in their downfall. The lawyer's final confirmation, the investigation is proceeding exactly as expected, is the end of the action phase. The protagonist's final realization, they hadn't just stolen from me. They'd walked straight into a trap I'd set for them years ago. And all I had done was stop saving them from themselves, is the profound, liberating insight that gives the story its inspiring, deeply engaging journey status. This entire chapter is a study in rhetorical mastery, where the protagonist's few, carefully chosen words are infinitely more potent than her family's desperate torrent of language. It highlights the modern relevance of digital forensics and legal precision in personal disputes. What assumptions do others make about your character or resources, and how could you strategically use their underestimation as a silent advantage? The fifth and final chapter, the true epilogue, shifts the focus entirely from retribution to personal growth and healing. The setting, the rain started that evening. A soft curtain against the balcony railings creates an atmosphere of quiet catharsis, the process of releasing, and thereby providing relief from, strong or repressed emotions, a powerful literary technique. The protagonist is now surrounded by the sounds of indifference. The city hummed with its usual indifference, a comforting realization that the world does not revolve around her family's drama. The vivid character moment of her holding the old family photograph and tracing its edge provides a moment of reflection. Recognizing the past felt like holding a story that no longer belonged to me. This is a crucial step in the inspiring, deeply engaging journey of detachment. Her professional life, marked by new contracts and meetings where her opinions mattered, is the real-time proof of her regained value. Noah's small smile without asking anything signifies the power of genuine, unconditional regard, a stark contrast to her family's transactional love. The most poignant character moment is the arrival of Grace's letter, uneven and unfamiliar, containing no accusation, only a quiet acknowledgement of everything she hadn't seen until now. This provides a nuanced closure, suggesting the potential for growth even in the estranged sibling. It emphasizes a philosophical teaching. The consequences you set in motion can sometimes educate those you left behind. The final act, the drive to the coast, the same stretch of sand from the photo, is a beautiful use of leitmotif, a recurrent theme associated with a particular person, idea, or situation in narrative. Standing where the waves could reach my feet and felt the water wrap briefly around my ankles before letting go is a powerful, extended metaphor for letting go of the past. The whispered words, "I forgive you." Not for them. For me, are the ultimate act of self-liberation, the final piece of universal wisdom. It demonstrates that forgiveness is a personal tool for moving forward, not a gift to the transgressor. The script concludes with a masterful summary of the entire journey. Some boundaries aren't spoken. They're drawn the moment you stop returning to the places that taught you to shrink. This sentence is a perfect example of compelling English, using an abstract noun, boundaries, in a literal active context, drawn, to convey a deep truth. Her family mistook silence for obedience instead of understanding a final, concise lesson in perception. The protagonist didn't break the cycle. I just stepped out of it. This final statement is the core philosophical teaching of the entire narrative. True strength is not fighting the system, but designing a way out of it. The ocean's quiet rhythms, steady, unbothered, mirror her own hard-won peace. The final action of walking back toward her car, leaving the past where it finally belonged, completes the emotional and physical journey. The entire chapter, while emotionally resonant, is also a subtle lesson in advanced English rhetoric, using imagery and metaphor to communicate profound internal change. It is a story that proves the most effective form of communication is sometimes the one that uses actions, consequences, and silence as its primary vocabulary.